So we have another story about Peter. And so like the last one we had with Sleepy Peter, he's not sleeping here, but he's doing lots of different things. And so I want you to try and mimic the actions that Peter would be doing as we go through the story. Okay, story 22. Fishing Peter. Peter was fishing very hard. And some of Jesus' other friends were fishing with him too. There was Thomas, Nathaniel, James and John, and a couple more. They were back in a boat, back on the Sea of Galilee, back where they started before Jesus had ever come into their lives. Peter was frustrated, very frustrated. It'd been a long time since he'd handled a net, a long time since he'd steered a boat. A long time, and it showed. For even though he'd been fishing all morning, there was nothing to show for all his hard work. Nothing at all. Not one fish. Peter was close to giving up. Very close. Then someone called from the shore. "Caught any fish, friends?" And everyone shouted back, "No." "Throw your net on the right side of the boat," the voice replied, "and I think you'll be surprised." So they did. And their net was suddenly so full that they could not haul all the fish aboard. Peter was excited now, very excited, for he'd seen this happen before. "That's Jesus on the shore," he shouted to his friends. "Remember when we first met him? He did the very same thing." So Peter leaped out of the boat. Now Peter was wet, very wet. He swam to the shore just as fast as he could, while the others rowed behind. And then, when he got there, Jesus was sitting in front of a fire, roasting a fish and toasting bread. "Take a seat," he said. "You're just in time for breakfast." Peter was happy, very happy. And then Jesus turned and asked him a question. "Peter, do you love me?" Peter smiled. "Of course," he answered. "You know that I love you." "Then feed my lambs," said Jesus. Peter was puzzled now, just a little puzzled. Feed my lambs, he wondered. What does Jesus mean? I suppose he trusts me, that's it. And he wants me to take care of his friends and followers. But then Jesus turned to Peter again. "Peter," he asked for a second time, "do you really love me?" Peter was even more puzzled now, very puzzled in fact. "Yes, Lord," he answered, "you know that I love you." "Good," said Jesus, "then take care of my sheep." Peter picked up another piece of bread. That's settled then, he thought. And then Jesus turned to him a third time. "Peter," he asked again, "do you love me?" And now Peter was hurt, very hurt. He'd answered once. He'd answered twice. Did Jesus not hear him? Did Jesus not believe him? Why did Jesus have to ask a third time? And then Peter remembered. Another fire, another place, and another set of questions. "You're Jesus' friend, aren't you?" the servants had asked him. And 3 times Peter had said no. Peter was ashamed, very ashamed. So he looked Jesus right in the eye with a look that said, "I'm sorry, I really am." And then he gave his answer. "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus looked right back at him with a look that said, "I know you're sorry, and I forgive you." But all he said was, "Feed my sheep." Peter was happy now, very happy. Jesus had forgiven him, and given him an important new job. Peter wouldn't go fishing again for a long while. You might want to stand up for this one. This is our last story. And we're going to be walking up a hill, and we're going to be doing lots of standing on a hill, and then we're going to be looking up into the sky. So I want you to all stand up and act out. Okay? Story 23. Up the hill and higher still. It's time for me to go, said Jesus to his friends, to go back to my Father up in heaven. So he led them from Jerusalem to a place called Bethany. And Jesus and his friends went up a hill. Jesus and his friends went up a hill. Tell everyone about me, said Jesus to his friends. Tell everyone exactly what I've done, from Judea to Samaria, to all the ends of the earth. As Jesus and his friends stood on the hill. As Jesus and his friends stood on the hill. I'll be right here with you, said Jesus to his friends, wherever you are gathered, near or far. Through the Spirit that I give you, I'll be with you to the end. As Jesus and his friends stood on the hill. As Jesus and his friends stood on the hill. Then the cloud surrounded Jesus and took him into the air, took him higher and higher still into the sky. Some worshipped, some wondered, some simply said goodbye. As Jesus left his friends upon the hill. As Jesus left his friends upon the hill. Why do you stare and wonder? Said an angel to the friends. Why do you stand and stare into the sky? In the same way he left us, Jesus will come back one day. So they praised the Lord and went back down the hill, off to tell the world. They went back down the hill. So that was our last story of all our different Easter stories. What a journey we've been on. We started on Palm Sunday with Jesus entering Jerusalem as a king and everyone shouting and cheering. And then we had the day where Jesus died. But then we had an amazing day where Jesus came alive again and rose from the dead. And he's proved that he's still with us in every time, in every place. So remember that, my little ones. Be kind, stay well, and don't forget to love